Hello, and thank you so much for tuning into the She Can Ball podcast. I'm your host, Mahi Jariwala. Today, we're joined by Babson College women's basketball commit Anika. She's a senior at Archbishop Mitty this year, and I had an amazing chat with her, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I know this is your senior year of basketball. So how has that been, just getting a senior year and being able to play?
Yeah, it's definitely been a blessing, because one of the most important things for me was just being able to play with this team. And it was hard, really hard because I don't know if you know, but last year our team actually made it to the state championship, open
Yeah.
division for CIF, and it got canceled literally like 2 days before we were supposed to play. And that was heartbreaking and definitely kind of brought a lot of negativity upon myself because it was just something we had worked so hard towards. And then to have it all been like taken away, it's definitely made it harder, I think, to bounce back this year. But in a way, it's also given us like a lot of motivation. So yeah, we've actually been practicing like with the guidelines and everything since March of 2020. So we actually never really stopped. And in Santa Clara, the guidelines are so up and down, and so we didn't even think we are going to have a season. And then the very last minute, we found out we were going to have a season, and it's just the best because being a senior, like I said, like at the beginning, it's not even about playing; it's just about who you're playing with. And so I'm really grateful that I got to have this last ride with my teammates.
Yeah, I definitely want to go back on your junior year and that because that was a really cool experience. But kind of going back, how did you even get into basketball?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. When I was younger, my parents kind of just put me in a bunch of sports, just kind of something to do and a way to make friends and meet people. And so, yeah, I bounced around gymnastics, swimming, all of those, and I finally ended up in soccer because soccer was something that I really enjoyed. I really liked my team, and so I actually played soccer for majority of like my youth, like in elementary school and middle school. Until one day, my soccer teammate's dad convinced, or my soccer, yeah, I said that right. He convinced me to go with her to try out for our local AAU team or NJB at the time. And so, yeah, I went, and it was just kind of one of those things where I went first day in the gym, and I sucked and I was awful, but I just loved it. And about maybe like a couple months later, I ended up quitting soccer, and then, or actually, no, I played both for a while. But yeah, it was like a couple, I think almost a year maybe after I started playing both, where I made the decision just to fully commit to basketball, and it just taken me a lot of places since then.
Yeah, was that a hard decision because you're already good at soccer and basketball's something you're not as good at, but you really like it.
Yeah, definitely. Extremely hard decision. And I think it was just kind of weird because at that place in my life, basketball was the right decision for me. But I feel like in any other place in my life, soccer would have been the best decision for me. And so it was hard in the way to let go, but in that moment, I knew that basketball was the right decision for me. And lucky for me, I didn't. So I know was playing both, but not really at a competitive level or a super competitive level. So it was kind of easier for me because there wasn't that commitment back then, in sixth or seventh or eighth grade. But yeah, one of my teammates actually had to make the decision in high school, and watching her go through it when she had been playing soccer and basketball at a higher level, it's definitely a really hard decision to make.
Yeah, and kind of entering high school. What was your first year of high school basketball like?
Definitely a shock. So as you know, I attend Mitty, and Mitty is definitely one of the best women's basketball programs in the nation. And as someone, I started basketball pretty late, like seventh, eighth grade. And actually, I played Cagers before going to Mitty. So that was kind of one of the reasons I went to Mitty, is because Cagers is coached by the same coaching staff as Mitty. So I kind of knew what the program would be like. But yeah, definitely a shock because you go from NJB and kind of less competitive games to all of a sudden being at Mitty. So yeah, it was definitely a shock, but it was really fun. I played on the freshman team, kind of got to integrate myself in the program, meet some of my teammates slash best friends, and then it actually ended up getting pulled up to varsity at the end of that season. And at Mitty, we have this program called Split Shift where you practice half of the time with your team, so in my case, the freshman team, and then half of the time with the varsity team. So it was like helpful for me to integrate, and I think that I developed so much as a player my freshman year. So I'd label it like a turning point, I would say.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge jump from freshman to varsity, especially when you're playing at like, a team where everyone's a D1 commit. Like, what was that like? And like, how do you think you were able to like make that jump?
Yeah, it was I'm extremely grateful for it because, practicing with those players made me better. Um, I always say, and I always believe this, that to be the best, you have to surround yourself with the best. And so being coached by the coaching staff, being able to play with commits like Haley Jones, Charisma Ortiz, and several other D1 commits, it was really beneficial to me, not only to help myself like on the court, but also off the court, to watch how they carry themselves, to watch how they lead. So it was really helpful for me. But yeah, it was a big jump, definitely. But kind of like I said before, we had that split shift practice, so it wasn't just like I had to go from the freshman team to the varsity team in like a day. I had been slowly integrating myself, which is really neat, and it's a great program. So I'm really grateful for that.
And then sophomore year, were you just like full on varsity?
No, so yeah, sophomore year was tough for me because I actually played on JV my sophomore year.
Okay.
Um and yeah, it was tough because I had been pulled up, but I think just I kind of had to make a decision like about playing time. Would I play on varsity or would I play on JV? And I had a meeting with the coaching staff, and one thing that they wanted me to work on was my leadership skills and being a leader, because when I was on varsity, I was pretty much a role player, just doing my role in practice and stuff like that. And so they wanted me to play on JV for a year, improve my basketball skills first and foremost, then work on my leadership. And looking back on it, I'm really grateful for that decision because, again, I was able to develop on the court, again, do the split shift program, and then I actually got pulled up again after JV. So it's really cool to be able to, play a lot in games, practice with varsity, and then have that postseason experience with varsity.
Yeah, I know. It can be a tough decision because it's like it really comes down to like, okay, is it playing time or is it just practicing with these girls are gonna make you better? And so yeah.
Right. Right. And also like the split shift program kind of made it easier too because I am still practicing with them, but I get to play in the games. So I think
Yeah.
out of all the things at Mitty, that program that the coaching staff has at Mitty has been really beneficial towards me.
In like junior year, like I know we kind of talked about it at the beginning, but like, going all the way to like I think the CIF like final game and then not being able to play that, like what was the season like, especially for you? Like were you in the split shift program or were you fully on there?
Yeah, so my junior year, I was actually on varsity, which was awesome. Looking back at my high school career, that has to be one of my favorite teams. We all loved each other so much, and there's a great balance. We had two amazing seniors. In my class, there was seven of us, and then we had some sophomores on the rise. And so, yeah, it was a great team, and nothing but positive memories from that team. And coming into that season, there was a lot of doubt about us because we had just graduated the number one player in the nation. And so, yeah, there was a lot of doubt on us, which I think in a way it kind of made it more fun. It bonded us. And we as the season progressed, we kept getting better and better. And it was just an amazing feeling to go on that run with them.
Yeah, like for you, I mean, you kind of really like moved up your ranks and like now you're finally there. Like, how was that experience and like making that big jump? I think even from JV to varsity, it can be really big, especially when you're playing at such a high program like that.
Definitely, yeah. It was pretty good for me, I think, because I had those other seniors, or the two seniors I talked about earlier, to help, and the people in my class who had been on varsity the year before. So I wouldn't really call it a big jump, but it was just kind of an adjustment trying to figure out what my role on that team was. Because every year, even this year, I've kind of had to figure out, okay, what is my role in the team and how can I make the team better? And for me, going on JV, coming from JV, starting games, scoring a bunch of points, I had to realize like that's not my role. My role is to make the team better in practice. And when I do get into the games, play defense, provide offensive spark, things like that. So I think that was the biggest jump for me. But because I had been like pulled up to varsity for the past 2 seasons, it was kind of an easy adjustment in that sense, just like the level of play and in that like in that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely just trying to figure out what my role was. But then I think once I figured that out, it was smooth sailing.
And like how did you adjust to like trying to come off the bench and then score rather than just like playing on JV?
Definitely, definitely. And that was something, like I said, I had to realize, but in a sense, like that's kind of the culture at Mitty. Like coach talks about this all the time and it's in our Mitty like athletics alma mater or whatever you'd call it. But it's always about like putting the team first. And for me at the time, I was just, grateful to be on the team with players like Haley Jones and with the rest of my team. And so yeah, I was really grateful for that and just embracing the culture of putting the team first. And I know that's easier said than done. But yeah, I think for me, just it was never really a concern like, oh, I'm not playing because I was helping the team in another way. And
Yeah.
coach always lets us know, like, even if you're not playing, like you're helping them in practice, you're helping them by emulating the team we're playing. Without you, they wouldn't be prepared to play the game. And so thinking in that sense, it kind of it like it boosted my confidence. Like it didn't degrade it, which was nice.
That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, everything really worked out for you. And now you're going to play at the next level, college basketball. Like, what went into that decision and like, how did that happen?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, academics has always been super important to me. And I've always believed that I'm a student athlete, so a student comes first. So I think my initial reaction when I approaching the college admissions process was, um, what school is going to give me the best education in the field that I want? And after researching that, then I found Babson, which is a business school in Boston, and I realized that I could play basketball there at the D3 level. And I think once I like started researching more about it, all the boxes were checked. And so it's just a blessing that I get to go to a school and pursue what I want to learn at a great school and also get the chance to play basketball. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how it went for me.
Yes, like how is it working? You'd like try out or like
Yeah, so I've actually been recruited by them.
okay.
So when my sister's a year ahead of me. And so when she was looking at schools, she went up to Boston. And one of the schools that she was looking at was Babson, which is kind of how I found out about it. And my mom, when she was there, she actually ran into the coach. That's what she told me. My sister told me that she went and found the coach. I don't know how it went. And they started talking and my mom kind of realized that, oh, like my daughter can play at this level and she's interested in business. And so she came back and told me about the school. And I was a junior at the time. But yeah, she told me about the school and it sounded really nice to me. Again, just based on what she told me, it kind of checked all the boxes as well. And so I reached out to the coach, and then that's how our relationship kind of formed. And then, yeah, we just kept in contact. And then throughout the admissions process, we kept into contact. And then once I was admitted, I just committed to the school.
Oh yeah, because I think a lot of people do value academics, and so like being able to play at that next level and still be able to have a great academic career is really awesome.
Yeah, that was definitely such a blessing.
Do you have any advice for girls that are like looking to play D3?
Yeah, I would just say don't overlook it. I think D3 sometimes can get a bad rep, but you should never overlook it. And also don't underestimate it. Don't think, oh, like it's so easy to go D3. It's not. You have to put in a lot of work and like you need not only on the court, but in the classroom as well. Um, and because going through my experience, D3s, they also look for student athletes. They're going to look for you as a student first. So on the court, kind of like the usual advice, work hard, be a good teammate, because you never know who's watching. But then also off the court, make sure you get your work done in the classroom, because that's really going to give you a boost up as well.
And then like during your like high school career, like in the off season, like were you playing AAU or like what were you kind of doing to keep your skill sharp?
Yeah, so kind of like what I said before, I continued to play Cagers throughout my high school career, because it's coached by the same coaching staff as Mitty, and as well as I think, yeah, pretty much all the girls from Mitty play Cagers as well. So that's been really nice because you kind of build that camaraderie over the summer as well. Because it's not like choppy where you play season, then you leave with another team and you come back, which is really
Yeah.
nice. And when I was younger, it was easier to integrate into the system when I played with them over the summer as well. So yeah, it was easier to play both Cagers and Mitty. And yeah, Cagers definitely helped me with my development, but also like recruiting, staying in shape, and things like that. Yeah.
In regards to recruiting, I mean, like, I don't see a lot of people that are getting like recruited specifically from like school, unless you're playing like one of those top programs that are like constantly being covered and stuff. But like, would you consider like your recruitment and like in general, like, doesn't most of it come from AAU, or do you think it comes from school as well?
I would say AAU, just because during AAU we travel to a lot of tournaments, and coaches tend to be at those tournaments, which is really nice because it's kind of, you don't have to make that extra effort. They're already there to like, watch and see kids. But I would definitely say that, once you start making contact with the coach, so like for me, for Babson, like I'm like sent her film from the summer. And so once we made contact, then she starts watching your high school games, your AU games and all that stuff. But I would definitely say AU is what helps you get in the door. But yeah, high school is still important as well. And I know like it's different for all sports. Like I know for soccer, club is super important. Volleyball, same thing. But for basketball, I'd say that while I think that club is really beneficial just because you're traveling to those tournaments, high school season is still pivotal as well.
Okay, cool. And just like lastly, like, do you have any advice for girls that are playing high school basketball right now?
Yeah, just to keep grinding. I know it's like the most cliche thing to say, but if anything, or if COVID taught us anything last year, it's that, you can't keep taking things for granted. Like I was so close, and we were all so close to not having a season this year. And so that just makes it even more special. It makes you want to work harder. So keep that in mind whenever you feel like you're not good enough or that you don't want to work hard. Just keep in mind that it could all go away in a flash. So just enjoy it, work hard, and make the most of it.
Yeah, and good luck to you and the rest of your season. I know that you guys are kind of going into finals now. So,
Thank you.
is that, yes, finals? Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, just
Yeah.
postseason in
Postseason
general.
play. Yeah.
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 Okay.